With this layer, we're adding thicker paint, plus we're making the painting more detailed. If you're ready, let's go. We're using color number 1 and the number 4 round brush. We're starting with the hair. We're using wide brush strokes with the side of the brush to fill this space. In this layer, the paint is thicker than in the first layer. It's a good idea to remain flexible while you paint. I just flipped the canvas so I could more easily paint down the side of her face. If we were rigid, we'd leave the canvas the way it was and angle our hand. And it's easier just to flip the canvas. We're trying to make this painting as easy as possible. We put more paint on the canvas because we want it to cover more before we start to blend. We don't want to see any streaks in any of our colors before we start blending. If you have any streaks in your paint before you start blending, it shows through in your blend, and it doesn't really look that good. So I'm still looking at my reference photo because I'm adding more accurate details and I'm getting better placements of the shapes I've already added. Perhaps I've painted something wrong. Now is the time to make corrections. Now we paint a hairline. Now we move over to the left side of her hair. I'm going to paint over the shapes we've already added. I'm getting the proper placement of these details. This is very important because you don't want to get halfway done with your painting only to realize the details aren't placed right. We paint along the edge of her hair. I'm carefully painting along the edge of a thumb, but I'm also trying to get as much paint on the canvas as I possibly can with each and every brush stroke. You shouldn't try to paint with the point for everything. The point doesn't have as much paint in it as the belly. You access the belly by painting with the side of your brush. We're painting in the back of her hair now. We're switching to the number 2 round brush to paint in her eyebrow. We're filling in this shape by painting with the point. Now we paint her eye. We move down to her nostril. I take a look at the reference pic to see if I'm painting the right shape. I'm constantly checking the reference picture. You should do likewise. What tends to happen is you get really involved in your painting and you bury your head in it. Then it doesn't look anything like your reference photo. That's because you never actually took the time to check it. We're painting under her lip. Now we paint her other eye. I look at the reference pic a few times because it's important that I get the right shape for the eye. We switch to color number 2 and we're using the number 4 round brush. It's time to finish painting the hair. This lighter color represents the lightest areas of her hair. Well, they won't be this light. For now though, we're getting their approximate placement. We're going to switch it up a lot more later. We move over to the left side now. I load my brush with paint and we're going to finish off the hair now. I allow color number 2 to overlap color number 1 just a little bit. Time to paint the hands. We're using the number 2 round brush and we're also using color number 2. we go back to the number 4 round brush and we paint down the side of her face. Now we paint her neck. We overlap color number 1 under her chin. Now we're painting her nose. We're still using the number 4 round brush. You can switch to the number 2 round brush if you like. We paint the left eye. I take a look at the reference pic to make sure I'm getting the right shapes. Because really I'm not painting an eye, I'm painting the shapes of an eye. We paint her lips. We switch to color number 3 and we hold on to the number 4 round brush to paint her forehead. We're going to adjust the shape of the left side of her forehead. We're going to paint around the eye. The beauty of the layering process happens when you're adjusting things. It's a work in progress. That means your painting won't look like it's done until you're almost finished. Therefore, don't get discouraged if you're working on something and it doesn't look quite right. Just follow the process all the way through to the end. For better or worse, it'll surprise you. We paint down the side of her face using color number 3. We build up color and make adjustments so our painting can better match our reference photo. We paint the shapes under her nose. We start painting her lips. We move on to painting her neck. It's time to paint her hand. We paint her chest. We're going to jump around a bit, adding more details here and there. We paint her eye. As you know, we'll be blending this later. But for now, we're making sure each color is in the right place. Now we're using color number 4 and the number 4 round brush. We're overlapping color number 3 in the forehead. Plus, we're painting around the highlights. We're leaving space where the highlights are going to be. We do the same with the nose. We're painting around the highlights. The highlights are along the side of the bridge of the nose, the point of the nose, and the left nostril. We also leave room for the highlights around the cheek. We do the same around the chin. We carefully leave space around the eye for highlights. To do this properly, you're going to have to look at the reference photo. Now, I keep bringing up the reference photo because we're not working from our imagination. What you imagine something looks like and what it actually looks like might be two completely different things. The more knowledge you have about painting realistic faces, the better your painting will look. In order to get this knowledge, you have to spend some time studying faces, painting from life, and photography. I said all this to say, take your time and really study each curve of her face. Get to know her face visually. Allow your eyes to bounce around until you get a clear understanding about what you're seeing. This would help a lot with your painting. We're now using color number 5 with the number 4 round brush. We start with the forehead highlights. We slide over to the nose. We go in and paint the eye. We move down to the cheek. We paint around her nose. And now her chin. We add some highlights to her hand. And finally, we add some highlights to her neck and her lips. And now we go in and paint the background using color number 5, and we're using the 3/4 flat brush. So far, so good. Next up, more of the same.